the Blade is our 2021 flagship product. It is the first to market true wireless AI hearable with heart rate monitor. Introduced last year at 2020, the 2020 CES, and it was actually awarded Runner's World Editor's Choice for 2020. And then this year it was awarded the CES Innovation Award for 2021. Basically, the uniqueness of this product comes from the combination of a real AI sports coach that's in the earbud that kind of analyzes your gait parameters and gait analysis, and the heart rate monitor that is built in. What gait analysis is the study of kind of human locomotion. So it tracks your body mechanics, such as your cadence, your symmetry, step length, balance. Those are just kind of like the more generic and basic ones. Obviously, with the sensors that are in the Blade, you are able to track even further data. And how that is tracked is because of the sensor that we have in each headphone, which is called the Biomech Engine. Basically, it acts as kind of motion capture sensor data based on your head motion. Similar to video games and their kind of motion track sensor balls, the headphones allow you to be able to kind of map out your body, especially when you're on your runs, be able to kind of track and analyze certain data points, especially with how hard you're landing, how high you're jumping or running, how far off the ground you are. All that is being tracked by this Biomech engine that's in each earbud. I did mention.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm really curious about how it is tracking how hard you're landing. Is it just based off of how much it shakes inside your ear, or?
So there are a few kind of mechanisms inside the headphone and also like the sensors. So basically it's almost based on like acceleration and kind of changes in your head motion. So anytime when you are running, it is kind of like a steady sort of, well, it'll be like a steady wavelength in a way how it measures all the data. But since I can show you this later on in this demo, but pretty much say you are running and then if you start getting more like tired and your legs kind of start almost giving out because you're a little more tired, you're going to land a little bit more heavily. And therefore, that strike force is going to be able to be picked up and measured from the headphone itself, just based on how it actually is tracking and like your body is reacting to like a difference. So hopefully that answered your question, but
yeah.
It is based on all the sensors inside the headphone and kind of the movements that you make. So obviously, if you took them off in your run and you like threw them up in the air, it's going to kind of give you these wild statistics. But luckily, it is ergonomically fit with the little Fitbit wingtips. So hopefully that doesn't happen. It'll just wedge in your ear and kind of stay in pretty securely. What I was getting to was how it can kind of help you lower injury risk. So because of this sensor, it is able to track certain things such as, say, shock and also kind of like your symmetry. So after your run and even during your run, if you start kind of deviating from a proper running form, this AI coach will actually talk to you and help you at least mention that maybe your step width is a little bit too wide. You might want to narrow your steps, or if you're almost landing too heavily, you might need to lighten your steps. This can all then be kind of seen in the data that is shown on the app. So I can show you that now.
Yeah, fantastic.
Let me share my screen. So yeah, this is our proprietary SoulFit app. So it does allow you to track all your, well, display all your data that is tracked on the headphone. Basically, each time you do set up a run, you can do it based on a time goal or a distance goal. And obviously, each time you will actually have to, well, the first time you connect with the blade, you'll have to calibrate it. So it'll just be a quick little 10-second, you stare forward, hit the calibrate button, and then you look down and you hit the calibrate button just so the headphone itself is calibrated. Um, like I said, you can set time or distance, and then pretty much the run will begin. And here's some of the
Run
things that
start.
you'll hear.
Device connected.
What you'll hear next.
Your head angle is too low. Look straight ahead. Your head angle is too low. Look straight ahead.
So this is kind of an example of how the AI sports coach will kind of talk to you. In this example here, after I started moving, I was still looking down at my phone, and pretty much these are kind of based off the gait parameters where a true runner's form really should be eye level. And here it notices my head was down and I'm already starting to move. So this coach will have several kind of tech, like at least indicators if you are deviating from a standard form. And then this standard is based off of obviously your gender, your height, and your weight. So each kind of body type falls in its own category, which is kind of how the coach knows, whether or not your step length is too long or too short. But what we did find out last year when we had people test this function out was that some people felt they're more advanced in the running kind of hobby, so that what they did already was good enough. So we were able to add the function of turning off the AI sports coach, so that if you did start doing something that you feel like, well, this is just me normal and I feel comfortable with it, you can turn off the voice in your head so then basically you can just focus on the music or whatever you want, rather than this voice just keep telling you that your head angle might be too low or too high, or if your step length is like too short.
You can focus more on the analytics and less on somebody telling you what to do.
Yeah, so basically you can turn off the AI voice, and then afterwards you can just analyze all the data yourself. That's kind of what we got with pretty much some people that stopped at our booth last year at CES. But here you just kind of quickly see, obviously you can track your map, your average pace, the distance, the time, calories burned, elevation, heart rate, obviously. This is actually the screen during. After, if you do end your run, you can then see more of the data. So like your average speed, your actual step count, how high you climbed. The next thing is more specific to the blade, because this is something that only the blade can kind of track, is the head angle. So it will kind of give you a chart here, if you click into this, of your head angle throughout your entire run. So it'll map out pretty much, at say like 1.2 like the 1.2 mile distance, your head angle is this, and so on and so forth. So if it does kind of change and deviate, you are able to figure out where along your run that did occur. So like, for some people, if suddenly they had to stop and like tie their shoe, obviously at like some point the head angles get real low and it'll get back to normal once they start moving. Same goes with all these other ones, such as like vertical oscillation, step length, step width. All this is tracked pretty much on like a graph, and you can pretty much pinpoint exactly where everything either was and occurred. So, for me here right now in Wisconsin, with step length, if there's like a patch of ice and I need to start doing like the Flintstones feet and like make sure I don't slip and fall, it's gonna pretty much pick up that at say my mile 2, I was, tippy toeing for about like 1/8 of a mile or something, just so I didn't slip. And then obviously if I had the voice coach on, it will mention that like your step length is too short. You'll need to, increase that, and just because it is trying to get you back into the normal running form.
Right.
Then the next part here is what I was talking about in terms of injury risk. So this is where the sensors really kind of pick up all your kind of shock force, your max force is kind of your push off, your symmetry, and then kind of measure your consistency in terms of how consistent you ran. Why shock is really important is, like I was saying before, if you are starting to get tired after a certain length, your shock is probably going to get higher because you're maybe, got that lead foot kind of issue because you're tired. You're not like landing, like kind of like holding back your lands as properly as you should. And this is kind of basically kind of help you with, overall long distance kind of injuries. So if your shock keeps getting to a certain point, it's not good on your knees or other joints. So this kind of does help you indicate, say, if you are kind of doing a training regimen, say a marathon or something, if you are starting off and you're like, I'm going to run 10 miles, but then after like you do the full 10 miles, you can go back to each of these graphs and kind of analyze and see, well, after mile 7, I'm starting to see kind of a dip or more of like an increase in the shock because maybe I'm not trained enough to run full 7 at like the capacity I am now. So even though the coach isn't going to tell you like, hey, your shock is too high, like you might want, well, it will tell you that, but then it's not going to be like, you should maybe rest. It's just going to indicate to you that maybe, yeah, you are getting a little bit tired. Sure, as humans, we can kind of push through because we are capable of many things. But just as a preventative measure, this is kind of giving you just a little heads up that maybe typical stuff
Got a
is.
bit of a gale going on, sorry.
But so these are all the things, and then we added the social element of being able to obviously share your kind of progress and stuff onto social networks similar to other kind of fitness trackers. Obviously it's just sharing your more generic stuff, not really your whole like biometrics of how you ran. What I want to show you next is also the kind of fun aspect of pairing up the Blade and our app, and that is the ability to kind of challenge your friends who might also have the app. The good thing about this is that you don't necessarily need both parties to have the Blade and the app. This is more of just being able to almost motivate each other. We kind of thought this up because of kind of what happened in 2020 where gyms were closed, people can't really gather and kind of meet up, especially for runs and workouts. So why not try to make it virtual and at least still have that element of like, I can push my friends without physically having to see them. Obviously it's not anywhere near like interactive as like say like a Peloton would be, where you're actually doing like workouts with like video to follow. This is more kind of setting up a friendly kind of game with someone and kind of entering that I'll push you as long as you push me, because we're trying to reach towards this kind of goal and see who wins. So
Right.
you set up a challenge based on a distance goal, and you can choose different pictures in case you have multiple going at the same time. Name your challenge. You set the goal. You set the date. Then you also are able to invite one friend, or you can invite multiple friends. You can have your friends invite their friends, and once this is kind of created and started, everyone that's included in this will kind of see a leaderboard of where everyone stands. So obviously with the Blade, anytime you log a run, it'll track. For anyone that doesn't have the product, if they have the app, they can actually still log their steps because it takes the data from the Apple Health app or the Google Fit app. depending on what phone you have. The only
Right. And that's nice because it adds a level of accountability also. So for people who kind of struggle to get going and keep going,
difference.
if they have a friend that's a nice runner, then they can have that level of, inputting the data to keep their friend from harassing them,
Yeah,
or get kind of gamify the aspect a little bit as well.
yeah, and it is something that I know a lot of people do, especially like my wife. They keep track of each other's like meal plans with each other now, so that people are
Yeah,
like,
that's the thing.
counting, like they is counting their calories. But like this is for just you to kind of get out and get active. Um, Obviously, you can see where everyone is in progress along the way. It's just supposed to be a fun sort of competition. The winner at the end gets more like a little um, achievement medal added to their profile. So it's not like any grand prize. Obviously, in the future, we'll do kind of like global events where anyone that is on the app and platform can join, and then have like a global leaderboard for like a certain, you know, different types of, I guess, challenge in a way. Um,
So
then
I know that some fitness apps have kind of like a social aspect to it where you can join a group that's maybe, example, local to your area. Even though you can't run together, you can still track with each other and set up challenges with each other. Does the app have something similar to that?
So at this moment, it doesn't have like like a geolocation of like who's around you, just because that is something I think, yeah, it is in theory good, but for some people's like privacy, so like it is troublesome, worrisome for some. Um,
Well,
you
I meant more like in the join a group like the Minnesota Warriors or whatever, and then it's just people who happen to want to be a part of that group, and then they track with each other and like are social in little chats or whatever, and are motivating each other in that kind of aspect. So like they're not knowing exactly where you are, but they're able to join a group for whatever and track with each other and kind of keep each other on point.
Yeah, no, I hear you. So that isn't in this app just yet. That is kind of in the later phases when we kind of do build up a bigger community. Then we will introduce certain things like this, just because it is a better way of also kind of keeping the community engaged, especially in little groups, just because people would be able to kind of find people with similar aspirations or even just like similar interests. So definitely something that is thought of, but currently in this form where we are launching the app and Blade together, um, the most that we got right now is for the the group and single challenges to occur.
Gotcha.
Um, but other than that, basically, I can go over the general tech specs of the Blade.
Yeah,
So
that'd be fantastic.
yeah, so the headphone itself has 96 hours total battery life, and that's obviously including the case. With the heart rate monitor on and the motion sensors on, the earbuds will get about 5 hours worth of playtime. With those both turned off, you'll get about 6. They're equipped with AAC codec and Qualcomm's aptX codec, which is kind of more for compatibility with other equipments. And the aptX codec is also really good for low latency. So for people that like to watch Netflix on their phone or like laptop, or even watch on YouTube, the video to audio lag is pretty minimal. So it won't look like a dub movie for someone that's watching like a video. Each headphone is dual mic'd with Qualcomm CVC noise cancellation technology. The headphone itself isn't active noise cancellation, but for call qualities, because it uses the Qualcomm CVC, it does help isolate more of what's in the surrounding area that it's supposed to pick up. So if you are, say, on a run or just out walking about and need to pick up a phone call, you won't like hear someone that's like 20 feet away. It'll just pretty much stick to wherever your headphones are in like the surrounding bubble. It does use Bluetooth 5.0. The charging case uses USB-C charging, so it's pretty quick for charging. The case and the headphones, if they're completely drained, it'll take about 2 hours to fully charge. For the headphones in the case, if those drained, it'll take about an hour and a half. The headphones themselves are IPX7 waterproof rated, so you won't have any issue dropping water, sweaty ears, wet ears, raining. You can even shower in these, obviously. The only kind of caveat with that is it is IPX7 waterproof rating, not shampoo rated. So, that is something for anyone that likes to wear earbuds in the shower, which is apparently a new thing now because of everyone's work from home schedules, that they can't really play loud music around when other people might be working. So that's, accidentally turned it on. Yeah, but I have this connected to my phone and my laptop, and anytime I take it out of the case, it is one of the features, it is auto paired. So after initial pairing, anytime you do take it out, it will auto pair to the device that you had it paired with. That's always a benefit for, not having to kind of worry about just doing a long setup time. Pretty much you take it out, you're ready to go. Each headphone is full touch control. So from your headphone itself, you can increase volume, decrease volume. You can skip track, back a track, play, pause, all that. Don't have to really look at your phone anymore. You can even answer calls. So that's one of the kind of benefits of just having an all-rounded headphone that does have everything built in. In terms,
and it's also a really great safety feature. You're not looking at your phone and then getting hit by a car.
Yep. And then also, speaking of safety features, it does feature the transparency audio mode. So that is a very important one, especially for runners, just because it allows you to hear your surroundings. So you're not just fully engulfed in your music, which I know a lot of people love to do, but it's still always important to be able to
very not safe. Yeah.
If a car or like a bicycle or even just another person is running behind you and wanting to kind of get around you, this allows you to pretty much turn on one of the mics to let some outside noise in. Obviously, it's not going to completely drown out everything. So when you are playing music, you're still going to be able to hear music, but more of like a slight ambient noise of outside. So when you aren't listening to music, if you do have transparency audio mode on, you actually feel like a superhuman because you are able to hear like everything around you, which is really, really cool to experience. But when you do have music on, it's just that added security.
I had a pair of over-the-ear headphones a while back that this was when that transparency audio was relatively new technologically. And I had a habit of turning the music off so I could hear my surroundings. And because it uses a microphone to input it into the headphones, because they're noise canceling just on their own.
Yep.
You get to hear conversations from so far away, just like it was right next to you. It's crazy. Having runners' earbuds that can do the same thing is huge in the safety world. I know it's a little annoying for some of the runners that really like to be super engaged in their music and in their head and just get it done. But there are so many statistics of runners, that especially ones that do that just they come around a parked car at the wrong time, or or step off a curb at the wrong time, and it's really just tragic. Regarding certain people's ear anatomy, some people sweat right inside there, and I'm assuming it has a nice grip with the wing, so that if you do have kind of a heavy step, it's not going to just go plop right out of your ear.
Yeah, so each each headphone does come equipped with 4 different size wingtips and different size ear tips as well. So pretty much you are able to kind of find your perfect fit, hopefully. Well, we aim to at least get about 80% of people's ear sizes covered. We know that we're never going to be perfect for every single person, but it like having the different size wedges, and then this material is pretty grippy even if you do get it wet. Therefore, like you said, if it is someone with like a heavy step, it's not going to fully just plop out. At least it'll like, you know, even if you get it to the point where it's starting to slip out and it'll maybe slowly slip out, but I don't think I've ever experienced that. And you know, that's even with testing it with like wet ears. Obviously, super uncomfortable, but still something that I try and make sure that it is something that's not happening.
Right. Okay. And are you able to sleep with them in for the most part for the same reason you can shower with them? Like it's not gonna just kind of pop out unless you're a side sleeper and it just squeezes it.
Yeah, I mean, if it is
Have analytics for
it
other stuff aside from just running, or I'm sorry, I'm just timing off.
No, that's fine. Yeah, I mean, you can sleep with them, but the only thing it really is going to measure is more of like your symmetry when you sleep, and then also like your heart rate. It's not really made for analyzing other things except for maybe just like your movement biometrics. So unless you want to track, say, if someone is one of those sleepers that just jitters in the night, like you could have that tracking, but you know, with the battery life on it, yeah, you'll track at most like 5 hours. So it's not like something that we would recommend, just because you know you might get like one REM cycle and that's about it. But
yeah, okay. So majority is the running aspect of it. It's pretty much just very niche for that that specific health thing. Are you planning on adding other things to it? So like, for example, you have the AI for your form for when you're running, but what about other workout methods such as yoga?
So that is,
so it's not going to be able to see your exact movement for yoga, but like it can at least tell you when your head is like tilted too far down or anything like that.
So
for certain poses.
I mean, the beauty of this is that it, since we are able to map out your kind of body, then we are able to then calibrate to how we do want to analyze certain data. I think the next step for us would be more or less analyzing more of like still active workouts, so like plyometrics, or even like the newly kind of HIIT workouts where it does require. I'm not saying others don't, like yoga. Obviously, it requires a lot of movement and kind of posture. So like that is a possibility, just because you'll be able to map out exactly like, oh, like if you are, say, doing the, you know, one of like the poses. Sorry, I don't know any yoga poses, but like maybe.
So example, like the downward dog. So if you're like standing up and then you can tell what your angle is based off of where your head is, and if you're far enough down or up or whatever based off the location of where your headphones are.
Right. So I mean, that is going to take a lot of calibration and just getting more of like the actual data points that are necessary for certain poses. So that would take a little bit more development. But you know, certain things like plyometrics and like box jumping would be something we could easily calibrate to, just because we are kind of working on, you know, some max force stuff and kind of strike force and other kind of measurables that you can at least see. I mean, there is technique to certain workouts, but others maybe not as much as some. So I think it is going to have to be kind of geared towards things that have a very like decent standard. So I think that's
more activity based.
Yeah, I think that's one of our limitations, is that, you know, even though theoretically we can do it all, it's just that a lot of different development has to be put into it. And
Right.
at this point, it's taken us, around 3 years to pretty much get the whole running data figured out. So
Right. I'm just trying to see like if there's future plans for other kinds of workouts kind of thing. And yoga was a bad example, I think, but but yeah, it's just something's like a future, maybe a totally different app for a different type of niche. Because I don't think you want to water down the running app with other types of workouts, but something along those lines using the same technology with the earbuds.
Right. Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think the last thing I need to mention is, so we don't have an official announcement date of when these are going to be released, but right now we're aiming towards the end of Q1, start of Q2. We do still have some work to do within the app and how it kind of displays everything, and also the timing of production, because of COVID now is just thrown everything in a loop. So that's kind of things that we're finalizing now, but it is going to retail for $199. So, I think our price point's pretty good in that range because there are other kind of heart rate monitor headphones out there that retail like $250. But for us, obviously, we do like to give our customers a little bit of value along with feature-ridden products. So, I think we like where we're positioning ourselves, but that's
$199 is actually a really affordable price point for what's offered with that. Is the app going to be subscription based as well?
nope. The app is going to be free, so it's just going to be something that's going to be included with both headphones and obviously any normal regular user that wants to obviously use the app. There aren't any plans of making it subscription based at this time. It is, like I said, going to be available on the App Store and Google Play Store. So, right now we're just hoping to get that interest out and be able to build a community and just see how we can grow it from there.
Perfect. I do have one last question. This kind of looks really far into the future. So, given how innovative the design is for what those headphones are capable of, including the AI companion that can help you with your form. If other companies are interested in including that in their workout gear, are you willing to share it with other companies, or are you going to keep that kind of exclusive to your own brand?
No, we actually are willing to partner with other brands. We do have, we are looking to get into like this more smart fitness space. So that is something that we are actively always seeking. We do have, some connections, trying to maybe build like a smart jump rope or even like smart dumbbells. So, all this technology is able to be transferred elsewhere as well. It's just needing to find that right fit and partner.
Perfect. I think that would be actually really cool to have a partnership with other types, like with the dumbbells and the jump ropes and stuff like that, to have kind of like this whole fitness family where everything can talk to each other. That'd be really, really interesting.
Pretty much building a smart ecosystem. Obviously, the benefit of this sensor, though, being on your body is that obviously for it being located on your head, which is your body's center of mass, that gives it the most accurate representation of what it's able to track. So,
right. Now I'm thinking about other applications, such as putting it in the soles of shoes or inside like a pair of gloves or something like that. And that'd be really, super cool.
Yeah, it's cool, but the kind of one reason why it makes sense for like headphones or something on your head is that your head isn't like an independent appendage that can move on its own. So like that's why fitness trackers on your wrist or like Apple Watches do pose that kind of issue of not being able to track as accurately as say our headphones will because of where it's located. Someone could be sitting around all day and still log 500 steps, but that's because they're moving around their hands a lot. And sure, the same thing could be said about our headphones, but you'd have to be sitting here just like walking back and forth. And I mean, that really defeats the entire purpose of actually owning something like this to track. Like, you're not doing this to say better, like to be better than other people. You're doing this to better yourself. So you would want an accurate reading of what you're doing here.
Right. This isn't Pokemon's like gaining steps so you can get miles in the game. It's bettering your body.
I mean, I think it was in like a recent like Liberty Mutual commercial or something where some lady was sitting there at the park and like had attached her Fitbit to her dog's like collar and
yeah,
like, I ran like 2,000 steps today. And it's like, well,
yeah,
cool. Like, you know, no one's doing this to just to be like, I have these artificial numbers, but here I am just sitting on my ass.
right. Yeah. I'm really glad that there are a lot of people that like you that are working on trying to keep the fitness aspect alive during this time, because a lot of people, myself included, like the depression, the sitting around, the being stuck at home, you know, I call it my COVID 30. You know, I regained some weight and I was like, no, but like also I'm mentally in the I don't care still. So it's the matter of getting motivated. And I think that stuff like these headphones and the app and the social aspect with your friends and the motivation is just going to be, it's going to be there. You can't jog with your friends anymore physically, but you can still jog with them. You can be on the phone with them with the headphones, and then you can track your steps together. And I think that's a really important thing right now where being social is just so hard. Yeah. Anyway, thank you so much, Benny, for putting this together and for meeting with me.